We're going to wrap these pipes now. We really like this big old stock pipe. If you'll notice, we went over it with some real fine sandpaper to give it kind of a brushed nickel look. Just go over it one lengthwise and be real careful and you can make it look really cool. And we also did the same thing to the air cleaner and to the gauge. Speedometer gauge, housing. So anyway, okay, now what we did on this is we went ahead and popped off the heat shields that were on the pipes right here, on the header pipes. And then we ground the little tabs smooth. That way we'll have a nice little platform to wrap on. Now if you're going to use like aftermarket pipes, it's best to use to wrap over the heat shields if you can. Under the heat shield usually is an ugly little skinny pipe and it doesn't look very good when it's wrapped. So try to go over the top of the heat shields, and then if you can, you know, don't use, if there's bulges and stuff or different diameters within the pipes, maybe stop at those or figure out something on that. So anyway, let's get started. I soak the wrap in warm water for about 5 minutes before I start. So I'm going to take this out of the bucket, put it on the floor. Make sure your floor is kind of clean. Then it's interesting on this wrap, I actually sprayed it black with Rust-Oleum black, barbecue black paint. I want it to stay a little blacker and go on a little bit blacker. So let's see how it looks. I'll show you the way I do normal pipes because these are a little weird. I'm going to do these a little different. But if you have just normal pipes and you're going to start at one pipe, then this is the way I usually do it. I wrap the wrap around there like that a little bit to get started. Then what I do is I just start about there. Start whenever your starting point is. And I kind of just loop that one around. Pull nice and tight on it. And then you can actually rotate that too a little bit once you kind of get it on there. You can rotate, get that seam in the back if you can see it. And then you can basically kind of start your wrapping. Because you've doubled that over once, you can kind of... That's the way I normally do it, and then I just keep going. But we're going to do this one a little bit different, so bear with me, let's get started. Okay, the gap is so close on these pipes that I can't get the tape in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap the bottom pipe first, and then I'm going to do a wrap around this really cool, I hope, and then go around the top pipe. I've never done this before, so you're the first to see it, so there's always a way. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stick that wrap in that like that. Just go ahead and stick that piece in there. That'll kind of hold it to get started. Kind of similar to what we just did on the other way. Then just go ahead and start looping that around there. Okay, now you'll have to feed the tape through the bottom like that and pull all that tape through each time. It seems like a pain, but it'll really go fast, and the further you go, the faster it gets. Let's see what I'm doing here. Just pulling that wrap from the pile up through the slot there. So we're going to do that each time, and we'll continue on. Okay, again, I pulled that through each time. I pulled that through there. Go ahead and wrap that. Now keep your wraps even. Be careful not to twist the wrap as it goes around. It's real easy to get it twisted, so feel underneath and then behind it and make sure you're not twisting it or wrapping. I actually wrapped a brake rod one time. I had a brake rod back there, and I actually looped the wrap around a brake rod, so you got to make sure you don't loop it around something weird back there as you're going. So keep your, like I say, keep these even. You can see the spacing I'm doing this. I'm doing about half the width of the tape. I've got a whole roll here, and I think there'll be plenty to do this bottom pipe. So let's keep going. Now, whatever you do, watch ahead. Watch this whole wrap thing before you start, because there's some little hints and kinks we'll show you. Oh, one other thing too, I forgot to notice, but I've got gloves on. This stuff's fiberglass, so it's going to be real itchy. So get you some gloves. Okay, when you come to the bend in the pipe, you probably want to overlap a little less, because you want to make sure you don't have any chrome pieces showing underneath or behind or whatever. So watch behind and underneath. Make sure you don't see any chrome on your overlaps. And then when I get to a tight area like this, you can always feed the tape up through a different area and then kind of slide it back. That's what I do when I get in these tight areas. I can feed the tape up through, like for example up through here. I can feed it up through here and then pull it through, and then kind of slide it down and work it on the tight spots. So let's keep going. Okay, I made it up to the top of the header pipe here. Now go ahead and just leave about that much, and then what we want to do is that just I want that to tuck under, so when we put the wire tie on, that doesn't show. That seam will be on the bottom side, so go ahead and tuck that under there, and then I'll show you how to put the wire ties on. If you'll notice, I haven't gotten too close to the header pipe here, to the bolts or the nuts. If you get too close, then the wire tie will be on the tapered section. And then also, you want to get those, be able to take the exhaust off later without interfering with the exhaust wrap. So you don't need to get real close there. So anyway, okay, now I'll put the wire tie around there. Make sure you put the big bump of the party of the wire tie up. If you put it on the bottom, then you can't tighten it up. So make sure you do that right, and then let's pull that. What I do is I grab hold of the end, and I pull those tight, and then as I'm pulling it, I bend that over. I bend that over there, and what it does is that'll kind of help lock it in place. And then what I do, I take some wire cutters. I give myself 3/4 of an inch or an inch, and I snip that off there. Sometimes you have to bend it back and forth a little bit. Okay, now that leaves a really a bad sharp burr there. So what I do now is I actually take the pliers and I just bend that around there like that. And then you can take your fingers, and what you want to do is double that over. Now you have a nice blunt side there, so when you're working on your bike or something, you won't cut yourself on that sharp edge. And then just rotate those around. I just rotate those around to the bottom so you can't see them. And there you have it. They don't need to be ridiculously tight because they're not going to go anywhere. So as long as they're snug, that looks nice. And then I'll go ahead and do the rest of the pipes. Okay, I've never done this before, so bear with me. Let's try this and see how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drape this down through both pipes this time. Just droop that down the back. And I'm going to bring this up around here like this. Okay, I'm going to tuck that back there. I think this will work great. If I tuck that kind of behind like that, make sure this is nice and square to the two pipes here. And then I think if I kind of tuck this back one behind it, I might be able to do this. And if I bring that straight down so that looks nice and straight there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to loop this up behind, and I'm going to come over the top of this. Let me see if I can back this out. I'm going to loop this underneath. I'm going to come back around to the top of this pipe. Over the top here, and then we'll start wrapping. So I'm going to try that, and then I'll be right back. Hey, so far so good. Make sure when you wrap this around here, it covers this little area under this pipe here. You don't want to look through there and see some chrome, so make sure that tucks under there good. And it looks like it's kind of hard to loop it through this little opening here. So make sure as you loop it through there, it doesn't get twisted. That's the main thing. So I think the worst is over. I'm going to keep going. Like a dumb shit, I didn't take that side cover off, so it's much easier to take that side cover off there to wrap that upper pipe. So anyway, wow, this thing came out cool. Okay, that overlapping like I started out with really worked nicely, and I'll pan in here so you can see what I did. Then what I did when I was finished, I put 3 wire ties around there. Just looks really cool. Going up to the header pipe there. So there it is. Gosh, that looks nice. Now this will stink for a while when you start the bike, so don't let that bother you. It'll steam and stink, but it'll eventually stop doing that. And like I say, it kind of sticks to the pipes with time, I'm sure, because I've never had a problem with it coming off. So anyway, that looks really cool. I'm going to show you a couple of other bikes we've done before we wrap this up, just to let you know, give you some other ideas. Here's our V-Star 1100 that we did with white wrap. And what we did is we came back with some black paint and some paint thinner and just kind of wiped it on the outside of the wrap. Kind of gives it an old, kind of a dirty look. Because I think the white is a little bit too white. And then it actually kind of goes a little creamy with time with the heat. And there's our Vulcan 800. That's what the black wrap looks like after a lot of use. But it actually looks cool, I think. It looks kind of weathered. So there's that one. There's a little V-Star 650 that we did. There again I did the tan wrap, and then I came back with some black paint reduced in paint thinner and kind of just rubbed it on the outside to make it look weathered. And then if you'll notice our little Savage over here, I did the same thing on it, but I just really went extreme on it, and it looks really cool. It looks just old school. So that's just some ideas you can have. It's fun stuff. Don't be afraid to experiment. Okay, that's a wrap. and it's an exhaust strap too, so hey, get it? Anyway, let's go to the conclusion now, and then we'll put this little bad boy on the road.